Fantastic. Okay, good morning, Essence. We are the essence of this whole class. I wanted to put this together after some reflection of looking back and saying, oh, there's a connection to things that I had been maybe doing subconsciously. And a couple years ago, I bought a book, Wabi Sabi, while I was in Arizona at the National Gallery there. And it was so insightful. And then going to Japan, and then last week talking about, like just our experiences and travels and whatnot. So all of those things, really looking at the philosophy that I try and bring to all the classes that I teach, even if it's like, oh, we're going to focus on realism, is still about embracing the process, embracing your signature mark. So that's a big thing out of, especially today, I want to play with mark making with the tools that we have and really look for a quality of line that gives you shivers, which I just got because I know the future and I know that is possible, but only you will know it. And so with the intention going into that, I hope that let me just also go a little bit about the rest of the classes, because I wanted to also create something where we have time and not rushing, because I tend to load up a whole bunch of concepts together, but this one is simple. It has to be, or else I'd have to change the concept of the class, right? So today I want to focus on just the quality of line and composition. Really, that's a good place to start. And then next week would be tones and details and what details to keep. So today is not about any details at all. This might explain a little bit about some of the photos of your works that I chose as well, which is just also purely random, just to help you so that you had 6. So in a lot of the highly complicated photos, which I'm aiming for us all to be able to get to, the ones that really are meaningful to you, is really what is necessary. So we'll touch on that next week and then move into color in the 3rd week. And then in the 4th week, really look at combining photos and ideas and creating a story and a narrative, and really walking out of the whole 4 weeks with excitement on how to tackle things that maybe you forgot about because you're like, that's too hard for me, I can't do it. So that now you can revisit it. So I hope you're excited about the photos and just even that, reminiscing and looking through all your travels, because it's wonderful and I really feel privileged to be part of that. So you know how it goes with a class, that my demonstration, oh, sorry about little mister who's supposed to be napping and chewing on his amazing phone. He's got a beef femur here. You'd think he'd be all over it. Do you want to join the class? Yeah. Come on, sit, lay down here.
He sees all these people. He wants to come and say hi.
You're gonna, oh, how rude. Just walked out. Where was I? Where was I? Oh, we were talking about.
You were on week 4, combining stuff so you can do whatever you want.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I have all your photos. So today, does anyone have any questions about, or we all know each other to a point. So I don't think we need to do introductions. We've all met at least in a game or whatnot. But does anyone have any questions just that we're doing up until now?
Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
I had trouble picking photos because I didn't know what I was looking for. And I don't know that they were photos that are for, worthwhile for this project, or what made them worthwhile. I really a little bit unclear.
Now I did reply to your email, but late this morning. Did you get it?
Yeah.
Okay, do you mind if I pull that up and share with the group?
Not at all.
That as an example. Okay, thank you. So here's I'll just zoom through photos that Christine sent in.
Where are they?
Those are Australia.
Mm.
And
What about the beginning two? They're all
Ecuador.
Australia?
That's Ecuador.
That one?
Ecuador, Galapagos.
Mm. So with with a general, yes, I sent out a general. Choose something that is meaningful to you, that is complicated, and so from there, I feel that everyone just naturally gravitated to something that would be appropriate. I had Christine's out of Christine's selections, all of these with color. I was going to suggest to wait until one of the next classes with color. Today, I just wanted to focus on black and white, but everything else that ended up being more of the blue, like these two, the first two, more on the blue hue of things, I felt were good compositionally. And I'm going to take one photo of everyone's stash and do an example of what we're looking for today. And truly, it's about composition.
Okay.
So this piece, for example, choose something in contrast. So there. So when I look at this, the core line, and we're going to start with continuous lines to do very quick thumbnails of our 6, approximately 6, just an easy approach, doable number. Oh, wrong brush. That's like
We're doing little thumbnails?
Yeah, we're going to do little thumbnails.
How little?
1 inch by 1 inch. Similar. Yeah. Just to get the sense of composition, similar to a notan.
Yeah.
So when I think about this composition, it has these wonderful, like just one line, and that's it.
Okay.
And so I guess I should have put a layer on that, but so let me do a little layer here. With ink, let me do a black.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Mm-hmm.
So as we're going through the weeks, are we going to be adding on to the works that we're doing? Or are we going to be doing like the line works that we're working on today? Are we adding color to those? Or are we doing all new like drawings when we do color?
Yeah, great question. It's definitely optional.
Oh, okay. I see where you're going.
Okay. So when Stacy, that's a fantastic question because I thought about that as well. And that's another reason why I just thought we'd pick 6 today. And then if by the end of today you're sick of them, then we'll have the option to do kind of the same approach with another 6 or a different approach. And then maybe when we get into color, you're like, well, I've been waiting so much to get to this one that I started with today, and I would like to get back to that and approach it with a different media. So it's going to be something you'll either feel or I'll help you with, like, hey, is it worth doing this again? What can I change as we go?
So are we going to do this in the computer all the time? Like you did that in Photoshop?
I mean, this is Procreate. I'm doing it just so that I can share. No, I'd like to do it in our sketchbooks, unless this is your medium, unless like that's a medium that you want to use. Let me pull up one for everyone. Okay. Alex, is this in Alberta?
Yes.
Where?
Oh,
it's the crossing of the Saskatchewan and the Bow River. So we're
Ooh.
in the middle of the Banff Park.
I've
Okay.
gone across the country about 6 times on the train.
Mm.
And when you get to the Saskatchewan, the what's that river called? Oh dear, I remember. I
The,
don't
the
remember
North
the name.
Saskatchewan.
Yeah, going into Winnipeg. The no, I can't remember.
And is that the Red River in Winnipeg?
Um,
No, you said you're all the way in Alberta. Or the Assiniboine? Well, who knows?
yeah, the Assiniboine.
Mm.
Oh, it's so beautiful there. I think it's just striking. Can see the river. It's like a ribbon.
So that was one continuous line.
One continuous line. Okay.
Looking for the overall composition, and it is how you see it. So I see this big open space in here, and so I'm like, that's a bowl. And then what's interesting is the lake and the perspective there. What do I need? What do I truly need to represent mountains? Do I even need anything up in here for clouds? No, I don't think so. I actually preferred it without. We know there's clouds. You know what I mean? Like, we know there's a sky. So just keeping it simple, looking for just basically for anyone who's never done compositional studies, like for abstraction, it's 3 to 5 main shapes. So in different, taking up different space on the canvas. So this is the largest here. And then this is a shape. This is a shape that actually, this is a whole shape here. And then I've got more than 5, but at least they take up smaller amounts of space. And so you're looking for interest. And if you can't do this with one of your photos, if you can't get a sense of a good composition like this, then it's not a good photo for this.
Okay.
Let's see here, Stacy. Let's pick the one that you love. So this one, I also had marked for Stacey that I loved it, but I felt like for today it was too complicated. And I'm going to show a little slideshow example of why. Because of all of the details in the flowers would be better as we go forward. Because here, any sort of just compositional element is not going to tell you what it is. Oh, sorry, I drew right on it. Oops. But you can get a sense that you need more than a single line to be able to, like, oh, that's a leaf. So this is getting a little ahead. So for next week, this one would be good. And let me actually show you these examples. Okay. Just going to scroll right to the bottom. Don't go googly eyed. Okay. So this is in the future. This is one of the images I used to promote the class. This was done in St. Kitts. And I started this some sort of process of capturing the scenes. I was on a cruise ship. I was working, and the idea was to paint destinations. So I had to come up with a concept within a day and paint it at night. And so to go out and explore, I would take all these various photos and put something together to create a composition. And this is where I like to go to, week by week, kind of adding, how do we compile and create more of a narrative, a story, without just how to reduce and simplify what exactly that we're seeing, but more of an overall story. So the painting here is one of my least favorites I did on that cruise ship, but it became more complicated. It was, that's kind of what some people want. And out of the two, I prefer the sketch.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
And so for today, this is another example just we're looking at one photo. So I don't want to overcomplicate things to start. Just really looking at a photo that already has a good composition and looking at like how do I render what I need out of that. Here's another one. There's the photo. There's the drawing. And then from this class, all your sketches, you should be able to get a photo, like a painting out of it if you wanted to. But it'll always be more complicated in different media, right? So hence the material list focusing on ink and charcoal, and then just some accents of color. And that's pretty open. I honestly want you to feel like you're welcome to change up the materials, but I feel ink is important. I found a whole philosophical explanation about sumie and how sumie Japanese painting with that, simple black ink and brush. The philosophy is about capturing the essence or the spirit, and it's not literal. And it's also about you and yourself and what you're bringing to it. So it's a meditative process. And this piece here, this was a sketchbook piece I did on location, on the spot, in black. And then I added color later. So the black was very, with a brush pen, very quick because we were on a walk, I was with other people. And so it was how to capture something very, that reminds me of this area. I can't remember which provincial park this is in Arizona, but Lake Pleasant. So it's very, much, that's the shape of the lake. That's what mattered. I've got some depth there because it was like, seeing all those low mountains in the distance, what really matters. I'd also like to, in the future, move on to dream like things that break through the photo or the memory, things that are hybridized and conceptualized. So if you're really loving the mountains and the clouds, why not become one? And the feeling of something, like, do you really need to show that you can paint or draw water really well, or is it the feeling? Was what really, really, really mattered? Was it that there was, a sunny day with a couple ducks on the pond, and that's it for me? That's my favorite kind of memory. There's something more to it than just, if I had drawn just what that lake was, it would have been really boring. I threw this in here because of the gestural kind of stroke, because we've done things like this in other classes, but just again, it's about, I don't need to show that I can draw a bee. I need to make create a feeling. I'm kind of going backwards here, but that's okay. Again, very simple, minimal simplicity. I mean, it's taken me a long time to be able to do this because of, that perfectionist attitude that most of us fight, and wanting something to be recognizable. But none of these are for us. This is for me. Like, this is for you. This isn't for anybody else. So minimal color palette. I really enjoyed that one for that. This one I had to throw in here because, I mean, I don't know what I could offer as a prize if anyone could guess what this is. But it doesn't matter because for me, it's a memory. And at the time I thought, oh man, this is a bloody mess. But now that I look back on it and I'm like, okay, you captured that quickly. And it's a memory for me. It's a park with kids playing and slides and stuff.
I was going to say a concert. People
Yeah.
I was actually going to say it's a children's park.
Yes.
Playground. Yeah.
You win. You all win. So again, sometimes we'll run into this feeling of, oh, that's not working out. But then later down the road, you might look at it and say, wow, okay, because there is going to be a mental shift of accepting something that's so minimal. This is one of my favorite sketches that I did at the Grand Canyon because there were 2 condors just sitting on this edge down below. And I had 30 seconds to capture it.
Hmm.
And had I, because, we've, anyone who's been to, anywhere complicated like a canyon or rocks, like if you were to draw any of the levels and whatnot, it's going to take you a minimum an hour.
Yeah.
Do any of that representational stuff. So what did I need out of that? And sometimes it's best when you don't have a lot of time. Just clouds. And so I can't just focus on ink for this class, even though I've taken Sumie classes. Has anyone else?
Pardon?
Has anyone taken Sumie classes?
I have.
No.
If you ever get the chance, generally it's like 8 to 10 week thing because there's like 7 main principles, or I can't remember the number. There's like 7 main themes and subject matters that they do in a beginner class, but it's such a wonderful medium. But it's not, I'm just not satisfied. So that's where this example of like colored pencil, and this was like a complicated cactus garden. And for me, it was more successful than the other sustained works that I've done.
So Sumie, S-U-M-I-A?
S-U-M-I and then -E, Sumie.
Okay.
And it means Japanese ink, brush painting. And these 2 are examples of complicated. These are not the kinds of sketches that I was envisioning for our class. This is the kind of stuff I know you can do if you had the time. Like this was in one of the parks in Japan, and I was sitting at a cafe for like over an hour. And it may not seem like it, which is a good thing, I think. But, and then same with this. This was like, I don't know how long that took me. But when you have the time, I think then you're unconsciously even thinking about all the things like this and the details and whatnot. But I want to focus on quick and compositionally sound and beautiful line quality. Those are charcoal. The benefit of being in a passenger situation most of my life, a lot of car, like we were talking about it in our kind of hangout. This is like super, super quick in a car. And again, it's the simple ones that I appreciate the most. This is a compilation of seeing the town from the Shinkansen. So in the moment, thinking about composition and adapting and letting go and accepting because, oh, I forgot that. But then, oh, there's something else, move on, next. So here, maybe going backwards was the right way. This is sort of where I'd like to focus on today, but maybe even more simplified. So we'll start with one line and then we'll get into like other kinds of lines that we can use to describe that have a good flow and a good vibe. And I want to get back to you guys. Here I am. So let's get our brushes wet. I chose a photo that I can use as an example, but is there anyone who has a photo that just shout out, be the person the loudest to get the request first? Does anyone have a photo they really want to see a demo of?
Me. I'll be loudest for once.
All right, let me pull up your photos. Dun, 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 dun.
So this is the thumb sketches still.
Mm-hmm, yes, and so let's just work with a fine liner. Or go with how you're feeling. It could, if you want something soft and smudgy, please feel free to use a charcoal pencil. But like a fine liner, something, maybe it doesn't have to be a brush point. But if you'd like to start there, go for that. I'll talk about materials as we go. I just want to get something in action more on the concept of composition first. Heather's works here. Okay. All right. I got your stiff up. And how do I show? I'll show you first and then I'll come back. Okay. Mm-mm. Okay, Heather, you pick one. I'll go through the 6 of them.
Mm. Well, the first one or the second one. I guess the first one. Yeah, because of the clouds and the reflection on the water.
Mm-hmm. So that's what is important for you?
Pardon?
That's what's important for you?
Well, yeah, because I like doing clouds and I like doing what do you call reflections?
Clouds and reflections. Perfect. So take a mental note of that, everyone, or screenshot, because I'm going to come back and just spotlight my surface here. It is important to this whole process to ask yourself what it is that's important of the reference photo for you. Why did you take the photo? Because that's what you're trying to capture. So if the photo entails all these other things, but it's really the light or the space or that it was full of excitement and energy or the color, all those things that's what your heart is in that piece. So clouds and reflections for Heather. Okay. So thumbnail size. You don't have to make a box at all, but I would say 1x2 ish. And looking at just the main composition to start, looking at the nuance of the horizon line, coming back, creating a shape here, reflections there. There's this funny little tree. And then there's clouds. And then just a couple. And that's where I would leave it. Now, is that strong? It feels disconnected to me, so I'm going to play with that again. What about focusing on just the top part and leaving this open? A little bit better. I'm going to try charcoal. Where's my pencil? This is a chart that I might have broken out in other classes with you guys, but every material will give you a different feeling, right? So this why today I want to focus on ink and then charcoal because they're so extremely different, and a feeling might be better with one or the other. So looking at compositionally, it's a pretty simple composition. That's getting better. I still like these two.
Oh.
Now, mm, mm, I like that one. So that's just me going ahead and doing that the way that I feel. And so this is like, without the photo, you're like, what is that? Let me go. Am I back? Yeah, no, not spotlight. Okay, remove spotlight. Anyone else? Or else I'll bring up a reference that I chose and demonstrate that.
I do one.
Mm-hmm. Which one?
One of the Japanese garden or the tree.
Okay.
Either one. Japanese garden is the river going through.
Okay. The one that Jaden took?
Logan. Yep, Logan took an
Logan.
Okinawa. I guess it's not Japanese, it's Okinawan. So fifth from
This one, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right, mental image. I really tried so hard last year to figure out how to have something like split screen, but apparently you cannot do that. Okay, so this is, yeah, horizontal as well. All right, so start with ink, and it's again that main composition. So trying my best to just do a continuous line, truly to like hold myself back, right? And that's it.
All right.
That's to start, right?
Yeah.
Just get a sense of, okay, these are the trees. And then that kind of will get into the line. I'd like to, just while I have you here, getting just a sense of the composition is something that I would love for us all to be able to look anywhere in the world and just nail that composition. You know, those little viewfinders you could buy, you know, little, and then you look through them and you're like, okay, that's a good composition. You can do that. And then from there, it's about stylization and different materials. So how to confidently make a variegated line, when to have like expressive marks, when to have very controlled, how to embrace a flow and anything that is not what you expected. So I think variegated marks be really good to just warm up with while you're doing these little thumbnails of your 6. But think about no-tan, and the no-tan is, again, the 3 to 5 shapes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, fine. And then in black and white, you can do 3 values tonal if you prefer, but to keep it simple, it should work well as a composition. If you say, well, this is the water, these are the tree line areas, and they're the darkest out of everything. And if not from your photo, you can make it so just because it'll be mostly balanced. Also, I'll do this one in charcoal. I'll do one more of that one. There's that variegated line. So you're pushing to get a strong line, not too hard to break your nib or to bust your brush pen. But then it's like a fade gentle out. And while it's connected, you get that thin to heavy. Play with rolling your tool, maybe spinning it to get an interesting edge. So these are kind of like the contours of the shapes. So this is more interesting than the edges I got there. And this is getting more exciting now. So we've got the water. It doesn't have to be black and white heavy like that if you don't want it to be, if you're not feeling that. And then eventually we'll get into like, how many poofy clouds do you need? And then what do they look like? So this is a nice progression to do at least two to four of each one. And practicing a variegated line in between them. Is that a good mission, everyone? Great. I love it. You're in the zone. I found it really fascinating reading up about sumie. Not about how to do Japanese brush painting, because that's not what I wanted to really focus on, but just that the philosophy of what sumie artists focus on is so similar to abstraction. And so, the traditional Japanese ink paintings are of mountains, and it's what looks to be highly realistic, But actually, a lot of that is about what they're leaving out and not what they're putting in. And it's the bigger, it's about the shape and the big shapes and what really matters. The animal crackers class, I was looking back on that too, because there was discussions. I don't know if you remember. Was it Christine? You were in that class, right? Animal crackers.
I was in the class too.
And Stacey, yeah, okay. So remember we were doing just the simple brush strokes of the stork. Mm-hmm. And it was like what really mattered was the stroke for the it was like a heron, not a stork. Heron. What really mattered was the simple stroke for the beak. And like if you got that then the eye and the head just sort of worked. But if that nose was off,
Right.
there was something. So it's about like those overall big shapes that really, really, really matter. And it just the connection to what I've learned about how to abstract things or abstracting from was just so on par. I think the Japanese have been ahead of everyone for a long time.
Not easy to keep things simple.
Mm-mm. It's very contemplative. It's like my next mark. Like, it's like if we only had 5 marks to make, that's it, and couldn't make any more. Where are you going to put them? What are they going to look like? Just leave my spotlight on a moment for, like, I hope that this is not about trying to do the same thing over and over and over again. So just because you haven't seen my reference, that's fine. But in each thumbnail, I'm just trying to do something different, focus on a different angle or a different emphasis to see what really, because what sometimes we think, oh, it's about the shadow, but you got to try to approach that shadow in various ways. If the focal point is in a different place, it might emphasize the shadow. So again, don't hesitate if you're like, I did one. Okay, let's try it again. Push yourself. How do I do that in a different way? All right, let's do a little share so that not that I want to break you out of this wonderful flow, but just to have that feeling of inspiration and that we're all walking this path together. Sharing is optional. Alec?
Yeah.
Delicious. Delicious. You know, there's something about landscapes that have that diagonal composition that are just so fantastic. So the one with the trees, that's a toughie, eh?
The one with the trees is really tough. Like I've been
Mm-hmm.
continuing to try them, but yeah, those trees are complicated.
Let me look up the photo. I'm gonna look that up with you. And I was trying to open Photoshop because for some reason there's like doing this update and it's taking a long time to sign in. Okay. Is that the one of them that you sent to me?
Yes.
Okay, let me pull that up. Yeah, because I've done it in a previous classes before where I have used Photoshop to show the threshold and how like you can make something look like a notan. But it's only a tool. This is kind of what we're doing is trying to figure out how to do that without the tools. So
Yeah.
I'll share the photo for everyone here. Oops, that was my bad. Aha.
Lovely.
And so it's that tree. That's what caught your attention, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, hold that in your thoughts. And let me spotlight this. Okay. I'm going to do this just larger for the sake of it being on camera. And so we've got the overall composition. If I was to just do it in pencil first, actually, just how I'm eyeing out the space is this is the water. And then we've got this mountainous background. And then we've got this tree and a bridge with people. This isn't the simplified. This is just what's there. And then we've got this cluster of trees, and there's 3.
Yeah.
Okay, so now like get all that out of your head. What actually matters? The thing about Japanese trees is how they are cultivated and kept. So this is where I would push shape over anything else. Like this is on its own. This one tree, it's very interesting shape. However, they all kind of merge, which is neat. And that's like the cool thing about this little cluster is you have kind of a crown situation happening. And then we will talk about people as we go forward, because we've all done this, these little crescendo notes and whatnot of people. And it can be really wonderful depending on where you put it and how much you put it in. Unnecessary, this line that I just put in, absolutely unnecessary. And as soon as what is happening, it's like I'm getting into these secondary details, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that overall, the largest shapes, I think what matters. So I would put in this tree from what I saw, Alex, that you just for balance, that you have both, because it's the trees and the overall. This is, I think, in the atmospheric perspective, which would be really nicely done, like the mountains and the stuff in the background with just a wash. Okay. So, today, again, if you want to get out color, I totally support that. I just am not going to really speak to it too much because it's it always complicates things. But if you wanted to just take a slight wash, you can use ink. I'm just using charcoal watercolor for the ease of it. Just putting in that very barely tea-stained wash in the background, I think will push that back, be really nice. And then even just to say, oh, that's water. It's not just like, people are falling off the edge of the world. But, I would try and do like sort of that continuous line, really pushing your edges for what it's worth for the trees, because it's you're doing the right thing. It just feels like the three cluster of trees is you got it. So what else? Okay. This is great. This is excellent because that's a challenging photo. It's beautiful. Christine, you got it.
I do. I find it really difficult to work small.
Right.
So I started off with just, going through, and then I got a little bit bigger.
Oh my goodness. Look at that bottom left one. Ugh, so yeah, stunning.
And then I thought, no, that's not big enough yet.
Fabulous. Oh, I love that newsprint. Yes.
Because I just need to move. I just need to move.
Your body.
And the line is different.
Okay, this is fantastic. Well, the composition on the top one there is absolutely successful in and of itself. The bottom one, which photo are you referencing? Just out of curiosity.
So it's a mountain in the background, and then trees. So this is a line of green, and then as the trees move up, they're bigger, obviously. So.
Just looking at. Oh, I see the one. Okay, fabulous. Is that Australia?
Yeah.
Okay, really cool trees. So in that one, this is about the balance of the shape of those trees. So you've got a really nice cloud set up and shape, or the mountain. Sorry,
Yeah.
the mountain in there. Just going back. Yeah, the amazing rock formation. So that space is all good. So in the bottom, it's about picking out like clusters, and I'm going to pull this into Procreate because it's easier for me to show that way, so that it's a nice balance on the bottom. Dun, 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 dun. That window keeps hiding. There. Okay. This. Oh, there we go. All right. Share my screen. Working on my iPad like this, it is an arm workout. Oh my God. So, yeah, you've got that wonderful horizon, and then this, I mean, and just inspiration from nature is perfect, right? It's there, you can't go wrong. It's perfect. But then all you got this complication down here. What do you focus on? So I see clusters.
Okay.
And do you even need any more?
Yeah.
And so if you had to, because you simply had to have a couple of little, getting into what if this was interesting to you because it was all really scraggly,
Mm-hmm.
and looking at so the mark making, how to take something from there and repeat it down here. And that's about as much detail as I would push for today.
Yeah.
So you've got 1, 2, 3. They're asymmetrical. These are so look at how you can make clusters that are really taking up this space in a instead of it being like 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. Got
The
it.
trees, I actually feel I tend to be the most difficult in any trying to simplify just trees. I used to do trees in a certain way. I don't anymore, but it was because of that complication. I might even have a sketchbook page of it. Yeah, this one. That's like out on the lake shore in Port Credit, those long man-made piers that are all rock kind of formations out, and so that's like a whole ton of trees, but it's looking at that this is a cluster. So thinking about, again, that continuous line, how are you going to group things? What is going to be out on its own if something is interesting and stands out? And this to me is still a little complicated. So how do we even reduce that? Again, we'll do that more with variations, because I think from at least my experience, we get to simplification by overdoing it and overworking it. So allow yourself to go there if that's what's happening, because it'll naturally then fall away. Get it out of your system.
Okay.
Naomi, would you like to share? Get some feedback or?
Well, sure. I lost a bit of time because my camera went off because we had a loose dog outside, and they were trying to
Aw.
figure out where it went. Anyway, it's home now. Uh,
Good.
he's deaf. He chased a fox, and anyway,
Mm.
it's all back. So I'll show you the first one. I think it was Christine. I have trouble working small. I was also, but anyway. So this first one is the Manitoulin Island one with the you can't really. So we'll get back here. That was the road. It was just after sunset, twilight. So Manitoulin Island.
Beautiful sketch.
And so
You bring it a bit closer, Naomi, please.
okay, so they're
Mm-hmm.
first. I tried to simplify, and I'm still doing too much.
I like the first one.
Oh, okay. Cool. So that's
It may not be representational of it, like, but it just on a compositional level that if that was your core,
mhm.
and then maybe perhaps things that are around it would be more of a wash, and we'll look at value and tone and how to make it secondary. I think that's a really good strong. Sometimes it's the first thing that you do that's the strongest, right? Like,
Mhm.
yeah. Because
Um,
the last drawing, like sketch there, is beautiful, but it just feels too much.
mhm. And then I tried to go. That was just the last quick one I was doing, just like little lines, dropping out most of the things, and just leaving the things, like you said, that I cared about.
And it mimics the first one, and so it's really
Right, actually, it does. Yeah.
yeah, it's great.
Salisbury Cathedral. That's the England one with the little sheep.
And did you take these photos, Naomi?
What's that?
Did you take all those photos you sent me?
Yes, I did take all those photos that I
Guys,
sent you.
I
Yeah.
gotta share with you Naomi's photos because I swear she stole them from the internet.
Oh,
They're gorgeous.
No, they're all mine. One of them is my husband's. The one of Cinque Terre, which is that big city. I forget
Yes.
the name.
top.
The
Remind
colored
me.
houses.
No,
all the
house-
colored.
yeah. My husband
Yeah.
did that one, and he tweaked the colors a bit in Photoshop. So, although even without that, it's quite nice.
He's allowed. I mean, that's its own art in and of itself.
So yeah, that's in England. From our inn, looking across a river.
Yeah.
Salisbury Cathedral.
The last one looked really spot on. You see? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's very,
Yeah, that one I tried to drop out. I'm like, I don't need to show that little fence in front of the river. It's not important.
That's great.
It's those lines. St. John, I'll show you this one. There's a few others, but I tried the roofs, Stuart. St. John's, Newfoundland.
Oh,
That's the lighthouse up the rocks with the path.
great work. The second one, it's spot on.
That one.
Look at the great weight you have on, like, I feel there's light. I do like the directional lines in the sky in the last one, but are they necessary?
Yeah, those clouds are kind of cool.
They are, yeah. Like, could that be done again with this is where we'll move into tone, especially next week, like looking at tones and stuff. But that's beautiful.
Thanks.
So
there's
do you mind if I pull up your photos?
Oh, you want me to pull them up?
No, I share them. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
I tried doing the Dubrovnik roofs because just there at the end but then I wanted to pay attention to what you were doing. And I might tackle that one another time.
I hope so. I'm glad that we have all these references and resources, and some will resonate.
These are not the ones you showed. That one's now didn't make your final cut.
No,
yeah, that's Salisbury. That's England.
Wow.
That is Ireland, I think.
The reason it didn't make the cut is because of the composition. It's just a little too open and minimal.
Yeah, I wasn't. I wasn't worried about it.
So this is the one the last sketch you showed.
Yes. Oh, the second last. Yeah, the middle. The second last.
Oh yeah, no,
the last one was St. John's.
So I think you did a really great job. Look at that. See, this actually has a nice vignette. You could play with this in so many different ways. Just you have the nice vignette with all the shadow around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I left those off for the thumbnail because this one I liked. You were saying complication because the foreground's really simple, but the background is where you get, and you get some really. I think I was thinking I could do something really interesting with this. With those fields. This is also England.
Lambum.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So that's St. John. That's the middle sketches that I was showing.
Mhm.
Yeah, and the sky is important there for sure. So I really liked the energy you had in the strokes in your sketch. That was just like too curved. They were strong. They were good. All these like tufts of grass.
Mhm.
That's Scotland. So many castles. I mean, in the UK in general, but Scotland, wow, so many castles.
Yeah, and in that, like, again, I like to attribute what we're doing and how you can really practically use it in a travel situation. If I was to sketch this, it would just be the castle. Like, I would maybe this part because of just showing distance, but I doubt I'd put in any grasses at all. I'd love to do a continuous line. We could all do a continuous line of Toronto skyline because it's like iconic and really cool. That's a great photo. But this, I just watched Willy Wonka again for like, the 1000th time the other day. This looks like the little town that Charlie Bucket grew up in. Where is this?
Oh, where is this? This one is in, I think this is Bosnia. Try to think, or is this outside Prague?
Wow.
I'd have to, let me look at it here. It'll tell me. Anyway, sure.
I should demo this one. This is a challenging one, but really, really fun.
Yeah, I think this is just outside Prague in one of the smaller towns.
Oh, so cool. Great photo.
We have so many mushroom pictures. I want to do a set. One.
Yeah.
I just want to print pictures. They're from my cottage.
Love it. Who got down on the ground for that? Did you?
I did. I can still do that.
No,
The San Pedro,
for a
dive.
while.
This is the dive shop that we dove out of for a week when we were in San Pedro, Belize, off the coast of Belize.
Oh, you have to do this.
And my husband did. He tweaked this up in, I think, probably in what the hell is that? A Snapseed. He went through a phase.
Yes. Yes, but it does change the colors in a nice way. They're like more retro, which is inspiration for you, bringing in color. Scotland?
Yeah, or Scotland castles. I think it's the same one from the other side, maybe.
This has a really nice composition with the weight. And if I pulled this into Procreate and just showed this sort of zigzag composition, it's already there. Like, that's the wonderful thing about like, do we need to crop a photo or whatnot? Or did you already do that when you took the photography? That's something to be thinking about with the thumbnail as well. This would be a nice puzzle.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it?
Oh, this would be a great jigsaw puzzle. This is Dubrovnik, the roofs of Dubrovnik from the wall as you walk around.
I gotta show that one to Irene. Those clay roofs, wow.
This is Manitoulin Island, just after the sun dropped. And there was a mist on the field, and it was we were driving, and I'm like, we have to stop right here, right now. I need to take a picture of this.
And I feel that sketch, that's your first sketch, that again, you got the weight. What really matters is the land, because then all the space around is open up for, again, it's always just about getting the space around the road, and then the road just magically appears.
Sedona.
Crazy light. Oh my gosh.
This is Zion or Zion or however they pronounce it down there. National Park.
Yeah, that's a toughie.
Yeah.
That's
That was, yeah, that wasn't in your 6 because there was. I mean, I sent you. Well, what did I send? I think I sent
Mhm.
your 9, but yeah, it's the. I mean, that's the part. If you've ever been to anywhere in the Southwest when that sun starts to set, or this was actually a sunrise. Is it? Yeah, I think it was. You just got to start. You got to. It doesn't. You can never capture it with your camera though. The way the colors in the Badlands there or the mountains just
Yeah.
glow.
Well, and so a piece like this, I mean, for sure it would be like it's begging for a watercolor, splash of color, and then to come in very minimally with how you got there, where you were standing. So hardly, just little, you don't need any of the trees, but just like a little bit of the architectural element, I think is a nice contrast.
Mhm.
You're in a national park and it's not just standing in the middle of like the desert without hints of humanity, and they're taking over. But like even that part too, this little splash of color, I think could be really phenomenal. Yeah, challenging. These look like great.
This was last 2 years ago. We went. That's how you pronounce San Gimignano or whatever. It's in Italy. And we went to it's a city of towers. It's amazing. But then we were at a vineyard after we left town, which had a beautiful view across those. Those are all vineyards in the foreground. So I love the shapes. You got the shapes of the grape, the different horizontals and verticals and
Mhm.
San Gimignano. Yeah, I think that's how you something like that. They've got lots of G's in there that you don't say.
Look at that.
Yeah, this one would be very, very difficult because there's so much of like the same sort of elements.
Yeah, I threw them in there because I've always when you're saying stuff that you want to paint, like or you want to draw, and it's too
Yes.
complicated. And every time I look, I'm like, there's just no way I could do a better job than maybe not my photos, but somebody's photos. They're just so complicated. That was at dawn at the Grand Canyon, and if you've never been, do go. It's just jaw dropping.
Yes. Yes, there might be other photos that you have of the canyon that would give you a little bit more of substantial of where you're standing so that you can have the depth.
Yes, I do have. Yeah, I do have some with cliffs in the foreground, and
like
trees.
this one. Like this one, I think would be more achievable to do. It's like a, I'm going to call it like a calligraphic or a gestural drawing. And it's not a sketch. When we move through all of these, everyone, like it's not that I'm going to be like, oh, you're going to have a whole bunch of little, quick scribble diddles of these places. No, I do want to put time into. There's actually a lot of time that's put into doing something simple. But yeah, I think sometimes it's like maybe another photo or compiling photos is another really good way of doing things.
Copenhagen.
I need to go. That's so cool.
Denmark was amazing. It was, but talk about complicated, like you were saying. So this is another one I keep looking at over the last year and just like, no.
But this is all about color. So identifying, so it's two things. It's what you think is important, but then it's also what is literally important. So this piece needs color or it wouldn't work. Fabulous. Again, I'm like, where did she steal this from?
No, that is my photo. Outside of Sound. My sister lives up there now, so there's so many waterfalls up that way.
Lovely.
So that's just outside of the town. It's one of the big ones there. I don't remember the name of it. Probably something. Let me just see if it says it in my phone here. No, it's just Inglis. That's Inglis Falls. The other one.
Mm-hmm.
And then Rio Maggiore, one of the five the 5 towns on the coast of Italy.
Mm-hmm.
Cinque Terre. This is incredible. We took the train. There's a little train that runs through the whole area, and you can get off at each town and walk around.
Colors, I just love it.
The colors are amazing.
This photo needs like, so to render this and capture really the essence of it, the people need to be somehow a part of it because of the scale.
Mm.
And again, color is
Color.
essential.
Mm-hmm.
Sedona.
Yeah.
Like that one's Sedona.
The great composition. This is different than the other one, so it's nice to
Yeah.
do both. Yeah. We're just gonna zoom. Oh, we're at the end. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that Copenhagen as well?
No, that's Portofino. So it's the other, just as you come around the coast from Cinque Terre.
Ah,
That fancy town.
neat architecture. I've not been to Italy. I'm gonna come back to Zoom. Has anyone else been to Italy?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's spectacular.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Claudia always wanted me to go, and I was like, I'm not interested in Italy, being a little brat that I am. Why did I say that? You went. I did not.
Am I spotlit? Am I spotlit?
Oh, sorry, Naomi. Yeah. Thank you for sharing those photos. Does anyone else want to share photos? I mean, this is a really good time to, so that because we're a group of interested, like-minded people.
And by the way, if anyone wants to use any of my photos for any, I'm not saying I think you. Oh my God, you want my photos? But you are quite welcome. Cara, if you want to have a shared folder, and
Oh yeah.
go
I
ahead.
can do that. Yeah, I can do that. I'll send that out with the follow-up. It's nice to have the stories, of course.
Beautiful.
Yes. Okay, so don't hesitate if you really would like to share a story. I'm just going to do a spotlight here on my demo to talk about quality of line as we go forward. You may want to revisit, and I know I didn't ask everyone to share, so again, if you want to just say so. So I'm going to just look at multiple mediums here, but looking at types of line. So we've talked about variegated, and you can do this with any tool. Variegated is the strongest, in my opinion, of thin to thick. And then we have continuous, where you're doing a horizon, but then you're coming into the land and then even into the foreground, trickling off. And we have gestural, and this might, I get what is your idea of simplicity, right? So if you're thinking about clouds, if you're looking at maybe say the backlit, then perhaps you're going to be looking at soft edges and scribbles, more of a gestural. Now, how are you going to scribble? It needs to reflect the feeling. So if the whole situation was angry or whatnot, then you might be like, "Arr." But a scribble can be playful. It can still have variegated lines. It can gradiate from dark to light. So there's no wrong way to scribble, but it's just being mindful of and intentional about your scribble. It's where I probably developed a twist, which I feel keeps me on my toes because I don't necessarily know what's happening next. And this is really good for leaves because you're not going to do a whole bunch of individual leaves. This could be for any area of texture. We're also going to look at directional lines, just like those cloud lines. So if you have wisps, having feathered, how close they are, how far apart they are, the movement, where you start, where you pull. How that feels when you're doing it. What feels good, what doesn't. In a landscape, if you have your horizon, your mid, your foreground, if everything is sort of going this way, perhaps looking at the clouds that are giving a bit of a complementary angle, or choose to say that everything felt like, the lighthouse, everything felt like it was going up. So do you have the clouds coming this way because that's the way they were, or perhaps you're looking at some of the clouds to keep that going? Again, there's no right or wrong, it's just decisions. So you can think of the direction. Contour lines, especially for rocks. Continuous and contour. So if something needs to have a shape to it, so try that continuous a little bit more. On the gestural.
Are the gestural and would be similar to scribble? Is that what it is?
It's just one aspect. If I was to, it's a personal preference, the contour. I love the contour. So let's say that lighthouse, a contour would be okay, here's, I'm just remembering, here's the rock, and then here's the lighthouse, and then some clouds. But a gestural would be this would be very light because it's far away. So I'm kind of working more within, and I'm showing more of the rocks. And then getting a little bit, there was this big rock here and it seemed shiny, so it had more harsher contrast. And I don't want to weigh it down over here. So now I'm thinking about weight. So gestural is more about weight. That would be more gestural.
Okay.
And it's a personal preference. You could do one of each and see what you like better. You can do a combo as well. You can definitely order combos. Overlapping, as we were talking about with the trees, like Christine's trees, is you could have a continuous line with things overlapping to create a complicated yet simple shape.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's this quality of line that I can't define for you. It's like your signature. And that might be something to do on your sketchbook, is to sign your sketchbook page so that you have an idea of how your line works with your signature, as you're like, okay, that's how I'm pressing. Just be aware. This is where I get a little bit more expressive. People don't know my name because I can't read it because I choose to do this. Well, what is it about that? Is it more minimal? Are you more elaborate in your signature? I think your signature, if we got a forensics person in here and analyze their signatures, could tell us a lot about the quality of line that you like. And that is that beautiful line that is going to be there for you automatically when you're looking to capture something. There's a couple of notes I have from reading up on Sumier just about brush strokes. It's how you hold your tool. Holding it either more upright or more diagonal. It's about the tip that you're using. So this is where you might gravitate more towards ink or charcoal. I love the smudge, but I will also say, now I'm going to get out a brush and some water. One of my favorite things, it might be one of your favorite things too, is if you have the ability to drop in color and let it, it wasn't wet enough on this sketchbook page, but I love pooling. I love pooling or dropping in or playing with something that's inconsistent. Like when you have a big glob of something and then there's like light areas and dark. I love that. So where I'm doing some kind of line and there's a lift, maybe with ink and a brush, that's, I like that tail. So I'm going to choose to use ink for something that, where there's a lot of directional lines. And I really like the end that this brush gives me. So yeah, I would do a little tapas page right now with just a couple of things that you have. Look at, there's another technique I thought was interesting. And I didn't quite consciously think about this, but okay, so when you load up your brush with ink or watercolor, it doesn't matter. You can obviously just make your mark, but you can also just dip the tip in a little bit of water so that you get more of that pooling, more spontaneousness. So that's called motuguma, placing the brush in dark ink and then washing the tip to make the tip lighter. I thought that was really interesting. Motuguma. Ooh, you can do the reverse too.
How excited you are.
Okay, so I went to wash my brush, and so there's like hardly any ink on there. I'm just calling this ink, sorry, but it is the charcoal watercolor because I like it. And then I just dipped it into just the tip, and then so to make that little where again it's that inconsistency that I love, and that to me is like the beauty of the medium. So we are focused on, if we're focused on simplicity, it's about the composition, but it's also about what this medium can do for us. So until you get that giggly moment, perhaps keep trying just a slightly different tool. It really should be like you're falling in love with, oh my God, that line, I love it. I have to have more of it. And then that'll be your sort of go-to tool. I only set these classes for the 2 hours. I'm just trying something different. I feel like time-wise, it'll work out, but it might feel like we don't have the same amount of time as we have in other classes. That half an hour might feel like a big difference. But perhaps it's something you can choose to do, and you can, is just to keep, once the class is over, is to keep, practicing or to continue on for that extra half an hour for yourself. And I started that group on Facebook for us because we're all on Facebook. I've done this before for other classes. So if after the class we don't use the group chat anymore, that's fine. But it might be a nice place to share just with us. So you don't always have to post and explain for the rest of, the world, because you know that we all get it. So yeah, just a time note that it's 11:40. So let's take some time and just play with mark making. I think what I'm going to do is a screen record. I'm going to set up my iPad so that my arm is not doing this like workout. And I'm going to import your photos. I didn't think to do this before, so now I'm curious. I'm going to import your photos, and I'm going to do that line, and then I'm going to screen capture and record it, and I will add that to the recording so that you can see. That'll be a lot of photos.
I just put a whole bunch of wet stuff on my paper, but can we do the tree?
Which one?
Showcase. So the big one.
Let me see what you've done so far. Here we go.
So this one.
Yes. Yeah.
So I've been working on those ones.
Mm-hmm.
And
you've got it, my love. Like that's the thing, is it's a strong base. Like it's a strong shape, and then what's around it is very minimal. I think the last one is probably with the tonal that's happening either intentionally or naturally is what you need. Yeah. But the first one also just really has it's about the shape of that tree. So yes, I will do it. I'll do a little demo thing for you, but you got it. And then the lammies. Let me see the lammies. It's the first one for me. Love it.
This one or this one?
The one you're pointing to right now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That is just really great balance. It's perfect. The other two are nice, but it's like that's the one, the pared down one.
Okay.
Lovely. Okay, let me pull up. I'll import. Oh, you know what? No, just to start, I'm just gonna do it in my sketchbook. Replace. Okay. So pull up that tree. Okay. Oops. And are you using charcoal?
I did charcoal and the pen pal brush pen.
Okay.
I think the one that you liked was a brush pen.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so what matters? The horizon grass does not matter at all. So you've got these long roots and you've got a heavy curve.
Okay.
And I'm looking at the dark space in between and where we've done this with roots and whatnot in the past, where those negative spaces are going to matter with making this when you do this, and it's going to be simple, but it's going to be more of a sustained piece. These things are going to matter because it's going to show how many of the trunks there are.
Okay.
The tree in the background doesn't matter. Like if I was sitting here in front of this tree, I wouldn't bother at all with that other one.
Yeah, I left it out.
And I either do charcoal powder or more of like a wash, and then the bark I would trickle it out into the leaves.
Okay. So are you? So
Now,
are the tree
one,
branches?
like that's just one approach.
So are the tree branches in the bottom the negative space or the darker areas?
The branches here or these?
The root, like that part.
Yeah, it's going to be the dark spaces in the cavities.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's no point in, so you don't need to do tree bark like lines at all. What's interesting about this tree is the roots and the base.
Right.
How many, so you have to decide how many of the connections to the ground do you need. I would say what's most interesting is this area here and then this area here. And then it's about how far they reach. To me, like, I would still maybe, even for simple, put some time and effort into the value so that it feels full and not like a, piddly tree.
Right.
But that's still minimal in comparison. Yeah, it's like charcoal powder eraser or ink and a brush. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like that to me, I'd be happy with, because it's capturing the like craziness of it.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So you got it. Like, I mean, this is the funny thing about doing the little thumbnails for oh, sorry, I'm just getting back here. It is that simple. Like your no-tan works because it is just that simple. So now it's about, okay, next class we're going to be looking at what details to put in and what to take out. It looks like we probably could continue on with these 6. It's a good progression for next week, so I'm going to suggest that. And then perhaps the third class, it'll be like, let's look at the photos that where color was really important. And then we'll do like another rotation of 6. I'm liking the number 6 for some reason. Is that resonating with anyone else? 6 is like enough. It's not too much, but it's also like a goal to get, quite a lot of studies done. Let me just spotlight and make a visual of a no-tan for this tree, because I think that might also help with where, like, I might skip over some thoughts because it's something that I'm like trying to explain one thing, but am I leaving something else out? So the tree with the roots. I can't look at the value of the photo. I have to look at the overall shape. I would say this would be the Notan.
Okay. Yeah.
And then that leads you, because this feels interesting. Like again, you know, there's other ways you could do this Notan. If I wanted to be more literal, it would be this whole tree leaves situation with the roots, and then looking at just having a little tiny space, which doesn't feel right. So exaggerating will then guide to say, you know, those leaves, you want them there because you don't want it to look like a bare tree, but that's where we'll get into tone, and it'll be the middle value. So everyone who had done the simple Notan that just feels like, where do I go next? It is good to still have that Notan and look at how simple it really is. Any other images for demo and thought consideration? I'm going to use Heather. And I'm not sure if Heather is just working away here, but the pebble one I found really interesting, and I'm just going to show that. So I will switch back to my camera. In the recording, I can put up the reference side by side. Okay. I miss living by the lake. I do. With just black, that's where I would end off, and it looks very abstract because it would be. And I like it. Do one more. Here's another one of Heather's. And so when you start with a very simple scene, it could be kind of like the answer. I like starting from the difficult places. I think that it works just as well. But if you have a horizon and you're looking at just putting in clouds, this is all backlit. It's going to be about the quality of the edges of those clouds. And then perhaps some sort of expressive glow. But that's about it. And then this that really begs for color. And then putting this into a larger piece of stained, it would be like really about the brush stroke of the water that you put in. So how you're holding your tool. We're going to play with that next week. So next week, I'd also like to invite bringing to class different surfaces, because that could really mix things up. Let's stick with paper for what it's worth, just for now. And then when we get into color, we can talk about other surfaces that I had thrown out there. And it's because I love them all. And if you wanted to do paper the whole way through, that's cool. But next week, if you want to break out some washi, or just some different variations of thicknesses of weight paper, I have like a stack of junky kind of cardboard paper, but sometimes paper that's not meant for washes, the ink can do something neat on it. So I'm open to that. I also would like to suggest that we have at least one type of paper where you have a bunch of it, like a dozen or so that there's no fear of like, oh, I'm limited. Okay, so next week is tonal value and surfaces, and we'll talk about details on what do we really need, bringing in the strokes. So if you have any time from here until next Sunday, if you need to make the time because you need it for your soul, focus simply on that line. Just keep repeating lines. So just like you become unconscious about it, and that you're in love, and that feels really strong and confident. But you don't have to do homework. We'll keep it up together. But it's nice to doodle if you set yourself up. Keep a little page out with your inks, and just maybe don't put it away.
All right.
Heather, are you still there? I just want to do a little call out. So I don't think she has a dog to me. So maybe she does step away. Okay. I just didn't want to say goodbye like the Irish way, but actually it's Heather who just pulled back. Sorry, my love. Okay, enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.
Great. See you next week. Thank you so much, Shar. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
PTFN.